There you go. We're live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for
Hi
joining us.
everyone, good
Thanks
afternoon.
for thanks for joining us this Sunday on a live where we discuss fiction writing, something which every writer I think intrinsically wants to become at some point in time. We all want to become actual, people who move and inspire others into writing. So for that, we have Rashmi Agrawal here today, who has not only
Hi.
transitioned careers, who has not only transitioned careers from IT to writing, but she also has done it so damn well, right? Like literally, she's so good at it, and she's very bad at receiving compliments. So she will not agree to the flattery that I'm giving to her right now. But yeah, you are amazing, and we have a lot to learn from her. Specifically, me personally, where I began last year in October to the progress that I've made at this point in time in fiction. That's all thanks to you. And hello, everyone in the comments.
Hi
How's it
Nada,
going?
hi everyone. Okay,
So
so
yeah,
Binti said
lastly,
your Binti's words are too flattery for me. I'm not that good. So that is why I always say that, I'm just sharing my experiences, not expertise, because I'm really not expert. Every week a story gets rejected. So, that sometimes is a setback, sometimes it motivates, but then yes, a few get accepted also.
I see. So I think rejection is a very common writing experience. Even in non-fiction, we see this. The the pieces that you put the most work in, and the work that is really really close to your heart sees at least 10 rejections before it gets accepted. So I think that's one thing that fiction and non-fiction have in common: rejection.
Yeah, so there is one lady who writes crime fiction. She's an Indian, but she lives in Singapore. So I really like her writing. And only 2 days back, she said that one of her stories she wrote in March, she finished 12 drafts. I cannot even imagine 12 drafts. Maybe I do editing for 4 to 5 rounds. Maybe I write 2 drafts, but 12 drafts is too much. And after 47 rejections in just 6, 7 months, she got her story accepted in some publication, some online literary journal. So, you know, the path is tough, but then, yeah, you have to keep doing it.
Of course,
Thank you,
of course.
Nada.
Yeah, I think there's a quote, right? The something to good intentions is paved by. I'm forgetting the exact words, but yeah, essentially, if you want some good outcome to come from something, you have to put in the work. Otherwise, uh, things don't really happen the way that they're supposed to. So let's just start talking about the thing that we are supposed to talk about today, which is how do you advise writers to weave plot uh, with fiction writing.
Right. So just give me a moment. A few people are asking me the link. So let me
Oh, yeah,
share
go
them the
ahead.
link.
That's exactly what I was
Just
also
take.
doing on the next screen. I have to have the mobile on as well. For some people are like, you have to text me. I'm like, fine.
And
So yeah,
guys, I'm sorry, my internet connection seems to be a little bit weak today. I don't know. I mean, I really not. I'm not sure whether I'm audible or not properly. But Binti's voice is a little bit shaky for me. But please adjust to that. So coming to fiction. So the topic is how to weave plots. We are not at all talking about how to write a story. Okay, the basics of story writing or how to write a dialogue, how to write a hook, how to write an ending. No, we are not doing that. The basic writing you can always keep on enhancing, but the first thing that comes to writing a fiction is you need to have a plot first. So how can you have plot? How can you how can you come up with an idea? So in the fiction industry, it is they say that there are only seven kinds of plots, and everything that you write revolves around any of these seven plots, or maybe a mix of them. So I'm just reading out those seven plots for you. One is overcoming the monster, rags to riches, the quest, voyage and return, rebirth, comedy and tragedy. Now, comedy, tragedy, you know very well. Rebirth is not the rebirth or as in reincarnation or something, resurrection, but it's like, you find yourself. You you are lost. You find yourself because of some incident or some person who comes into your life and change it completely. Then there is one plot which people use is voyage and return. You actually go on a journey. So rebirth is a mental journey. Voyage and return is actually a physical journey. You go to some place, achieve something, and return. That's like Moana. Then the quest, most of your thrillers, mystery, crime fiction, they are quest where you are searching for something, you are after a mystery, you are after discovering something, a real physical thing. Okay, then rags to riches is very much like Cinderella story, or you know somewhere when somebody is not good, is poor, comes from a poor background, and then achieves, makes a career, makes a business. Then overcoming the monster is like, you have some major monster within your mind, or a real monster, and you face it. So these are the basic plots. So I just thought to tell you that these are seven basic plots which are famous, and every story revolves around them. If you choose any story, you will find it. Now, how do you find a plot? How can you find a plot? So go back to your past. The My first advice is always go back to your past. Go back to your school life. What intrigued you? What was good in it? Let's say, okay. So there is one story which Binti really talks about when she talks about me is the Mulberry Love. Mulberry Love is a romantic story that I wrote around a mulberry tree. So I used to live in a very small town, and we had a mulberry tree. Okay, that was the single lone tree. And when I was in higher secondary, I used to go for coaching. I used to go to coaching classes with some of my friends, and we used to hang around that mulberry tree. And that mulberry tree was in the premise of a school teacher. Okay, so based on that, I build a story around that mulberry tree, how two people, how a girl and a boy meet in a coaching class, and then that mulberry tree become an epitome of their love. And it's mostly about the man who returns back to that city or town in his 60s, and that girl is not live and living anymore. She is dead. So the story is like that. So you have to go back to the past, and then you have to weave something. So this is one very good way. Okay. And if you have some of the people who have asked about how how to write about issues. Okay, so some people are asking me if I'm taking the session. So Biniti, am I audible, am I visible?
You are perfectly audible and visible. Comment section, let us know if you are not audible or visible. Guys, please, we are having internet issues today because where I live, there's like some kind of a weird cloud thing that is happening. So internet is kind of going up and down. And Rashmi is also having sort of a similar problem. So let us know if you are not audible or visible. And just taking like a 1 minute, 30-second break where we send the links out to people because the comment sections and the PMs are kind of getting getting some messages. So yeah, go ahead, complete your replies, and then we'll get back to it. People who are
Yeah.
asking for the links. And
So how to get new ideas for the stories, right? So let's say social issue. You want to write about social issue. Okay. So what are the issues which are there around our society? So look around yourself. There are you may find lots of garbage around your society. You can write about that, and you don't really need to have a activist or there who is doing some kind of drama for cleaning the garbage. No, there can be a funny story around it. You can have two kids who start cleaning the garbage around their society or something like that. There are a lot of issues related to suicide now. So you really don't need to be an activist here, but just think of something that you can even make a funny story, like somebody, let's say a boy who has flunked exams, who was a aspirant for a big entrance exam, and he doesn't clear it. So what would you think, like how would what kind of trauma he is going through? Okay, and then he plans for a suicide, and then he lands up with some funny situations over there. So you can have a satiristic story over there. You can weave a story that is actually not very serious about it but still leaves a lesson. Then there are a lot of animals around us. You can write stories based on animal. Make animal your protagonist. What happened is one day I was going for walk within my society premises. That was like a year back, and I saw a frog, and it was a big frog. Usually, you wouldn't see such a big frog in monsoon or in your places around you. So then, I started thinking about how can we write a story around a frog. So maybe the frog is a dumb frog. It's not very smart. It's not an intelligent frog. Or maybe, the frog is not smart. He tries to show his smartness, but then, people start laughing at him. So something like that. So the story that came up into my mind is the frog lives in a small pond near a colony where people live, and then an alligator came into the pond, and he's not aware that it's an alligator, and he starts shouting that there is a dinosaur, and everybody thinks actually he is true. Okay, so people start thinking that it is actually a dinosaur, but nobody has seen the alligator yet. Okay, and then the frog brings people around. He brings his family, he brings his friends, and then they came to know that it's an alligator. So so kind of that is the plot somewhere in my mind. I haven't written it, so I don't know yet. So that is how you have to pick from one point and then weave a story around it. Now,
Okay.
sorry, somebody is saying something.
No, no, I said okay.
Okay, so it's very difficult for me to keep talking. You ask me some question, then I can tell probably.
Oh, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. So, one of the main reasons why I enjoy learning from you is because you focus on the autobiographical aspect of writing, right? Which is draw from your personal experiences and draw from your past, or from your present, or from some imagination that you had, as in you had some dream, and then you incorporate that dream into your fiction or stuff like that. So how exactly do we go about that? As in, how do we look at everyday objects and kind of, as the words we have used, kind of weave a connection between everyday objects using fiction? Because the thing is, we non-fiction writers, we describe everything to death. So the door had straight leveled wooden paneling, all this, we will do
Mhm.
all this, and then it becomes very boring, right? So how exactly do we take objects around us or stories or memories or all of that and weave it into fiction? The kind of work that speaks to your writer rather than just informs him.
Okay, so what I would say is, what intrigues you? Okay, like for me, technology, I've been into technology for quite a long time. I worked in IT, so technology is interesting for me. And AR, VR, AI, they are very interesting. People write a lot on robots. Okay, so it's not necessary always that you go to your past and weave a story around it. You don't need to have your own past pulled into the story. So that is just one aspect, that maybe you have a college life, you had a friend somewhere in your college or school who was very interesting, funny, witty, but he had suddenly met with an accident or something happened. Okay, but sometimes you actually can draw stories from history also, like go back to the freedom of India. Okay, so there is a story by a friend, I mean there is an anthology by a friend. She has written a story on partition. I think her book has 22 stories, all were based on partition.
Okay.
Now she has faced that. Okay, she was in India, she was in I think Punjab, and partitions happened, and she was not born at that time, but probably her family was moved to Pakistan. And then when she was born, she was in India. I mean they came back from Pakistan to India, something like that happened. I think they were actually into the Lahore area of Pakistan, and when the partition happened they had to move back to India, something like that. Okay, so all her stories, she has never been there in partition, she never faced it herself, but she has drawn inspiration from her grandparents, parents, and weave story around partition. There is
Okay, got
something.
it. So be good observers and good listeners is what you
Exactly,
are alluding to, right? Like it doesn't have to
exactly,
be about you. It can be about anyone around you, and you just have to listen and be aware of what people are actually trying to communicate.
right. So probably everybody is aware about World War II and the Holocaust, the atrocities people have faced in Germany, around Germany, due to Nazis and the army, right? I I've written two stories on this thing. There are a lot of books also on Holocaust from both Germans' point of view, like the Book Thief. The Book Thief is about Germans who are, expecting bombarding anytime on their heads, um, in Himmel Street, okay, in Germany. So that is the point of view from Germans. But not, it's not that they didn't face any issues. They faced a lot of issues, because when war happens, it's going to kill everybody. A bomb doesn't know you are a German, or you are a Jew, or you are a Russian, or you are a French, right? So
Yeah.
that is one side of the story. Now another story, the story that I wrote is about an Indian soldier. Probably Binti knows that story. She has read it. It's not yet published anywhere. It hasn't found a place anywhere yet. So my story is about an Indian soldier who became a prisoner of war. Okay, he was fighting from British army, from the side of British army, because at that time India was under the reigns of Britishes. Okay, so he fought from British army. He got imprisoned in Germany. He goes from one place to another. He works like a labor. He met a girl called Ophira. Ophira is gold. Ophira means gold in Hebrew. So she is a Jew, and he helps her escape into a ship from Germany to India. And the story is narrated by Ophira's grandchild to I think yeah, to a lady who was the lady love of that soldier when he was in India. So there are a lot of fiction here, but yes, prisoner of wars from India were real. There is a little bit of how Indian politicians made pacts with Germans and Nazis for using India in the freedom of war, so that sorry, in German war, so that they can in turn get help from Germany. Okay, so there are uh, a lot of truth about the places, about the dates and all. You have to do a lot of research when you are writing historical fiction. So yes, fiction has a lot of research involved. So go back to history. Okay, that is one thing. Go back to historical monuments. What is the story behind them? Maybe if you're not sure how to write anything, start retelling the stories. Okay, I have written a story about Menaka and Vishwamitra and Indra. So that is a classic Indian story. Okay, so it's just a 300 to 50 word story, which is a retelling from Menka's perspective. So if you are really not sure how to weave a plot, start retelling some stories which you already know. And Indian mythology is a great treasure of stories. You will find millions of stories over there. Okay, now uh, romantic stories. I'm not into romantic stories. I have written only two stories. Okay, there was read newspapers. When you read newspapers, you have to pick out an idea which is weird, bizarre ideas. Okay, like in Times of India, they usually publish one bizarre, incident that happened somewhere in the world every once in a while. So there was a courier of books which reached a lady after 20 years. So let's say somebody posted a courier of books to somebody in 1989, 1990. So the lady got the parcel after 20 years in 2010. So
Mm,
that's a very good plot for mystery. Okay. What is in the parcel?
yeah.
Actually, the parcel had books, but can else, what the parcel else can have, right? So it's a very good plot for mystery and thriller, a murder mystery, a crime mystery. But give it a twist. I wrote a romantic story. That's the second romance story I wrote, but I don't think I would write in this genre anymore because I that genre is not for me. Okay,
There's a
so
lot of unrealistic expectations with romance
Kriti
writing,
is
I feel.
asking if we are recording this, so I'm sure we are recording it. Kriti, if you are listening
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us,
See,
this
it's going to be available on LinkedIn forever. The video stays on LinkedIn, so you can come back and check it. And I will give the whole video clip recording to Rashmi as well. So if she wants, she can cut pieces out and be like, "This is how you do this writing." And she'll probably be posting about this on her own profile as well. And I will also put the recording on YouTube. So yeah, if you want the recordings, just send me a PM and I'll link you to the recordings. Carry on.
so imagine a girl who doesn't like to read. Okay, imagine a girl who doesn't like to read and she receives a parcel which was which was couriered to her 20 years back, and now they are reaching her as a gift from her grandmother or granny or great grandmother when she was about to born, or was she was just 1 year. And the irony is she doesn't read. She's a very millennial kind of girl, and the books she gets in the parcel is children's book. So imagine, would she open it? Okay, so what I wrote about is her mother pesters her to return the books because they don't belong to her. But out of curiosity, and she has a recent breakup, she opens the book and from that drops a check of 50,000. Now her mother is so adamant, you have to send it back. You have to find the person who sent you the check because it doesn't belong to you, though it is addressed on your name. And then she hops from one city to other to find who sent her the book. Okay. And another irony is the publication name is different now. Earlier the book was published on X by X publisher. Now when she reaches, it's a Y publisher. So it's a little bit of mystery plus romance. So you have to pick an incident which is bizarre. There are great stories you can make out of bizarre incidents, out of weird things. Weird things make very good stories.
Can you repeat that? What did you say in the end after bizarre?
Yeah, I said that find a weird incident. Find something which is
Okay.
weird. Weird incident, weird people, weird habits, weird, weirdness.
Okay.
Great stories are written on weirdity.
Yeah, because I mean, normal everyday life is generally speaking boring. But something weird happening. Like I had a snake come out of my washing machine once. So
Huh?
if I write a story, yeah, there's a video. I have put a video on YouTube about
Oh
that
my
because
god.
people don't believe
Oh,
me when I say this.
huh.
But like again, snakes are everywhere. If I say raste pe snake hai, you will ignore me because everyone knows about raste ka snake. But I say I have had a snake
Mhm,
come out of my washing machine and somehow make a story about it. That will
mhm.
probably be more interesting. Even if the premise is very common, snake coming out of dark places.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
I get the point you're trying to make. The weirder, the better the story becomes, no matter what genre we talk about.
Mhm,
Yeah, amazing. Anyway, so another question I had for you was in terms of how you create mystery in the sense, of course, there's a lot of show don't tell element here, but essentially every time I tried writing mystery, I have failed so spectacularly because it's like I keep leaving, what Chekhov's gun thing. I keep leaving as a hints, very obvious hints, where the mystery won't develop because people automatically know either he mentioned it's mentioned, so she's going to probably have this happen later on down the line. So how exactly do you weave mystery? Because you do it so well, in my opinion.
I I'm just trying, I was thinking when I started writing fiction, I thought maybe I should start writing sci-fi, and I have written 5 to 6 sci-fi stories, or maybe even more. I don't remember exactly, but somehow, sci-fi is interesting. I still add lots of technical element to my stories. Uh, Whenever I write a story, I hunt for some technology part that I can infuse in my story. But only recently, like 5 6 months back, only I realized that mystery is something I can do. That is probably my genre. So whenever you write a story, any story, any even horror, romantic, suspense is the key. Suspense is actually, in my opinion, is not a genre. It's a tool to make your stories great. Okay, so you need to have suspense to keep your pages turning. Your readers would keep turning pages if your story has suspense. So,
I see.
like that happens in Ekta Kapoor serials. The screen freezes. Now what? You will wait for the next day. You will wait for the next episode of the serial. Now what? What happens next? Or like in Harry Potter movies. Okay, or book, all the once the first book is done, you would have lots of questions in your mind. There is too many suspense plot points over there are too many suspense plot points going on. Now what will Harry do? What will happen to Hermione? Will their friendship cherish? Will it grow? What about Voldemort? Okay, so suspense is the key, whatever story you write. And
Got it.
whenever whenever you end a chapter, when it comes to novel, it would be divided into 20, 30, 40 chapters. Okay, usually in short stories you wouldn't have chapter long chapters, but you would have mostly scenes, because either your story is compacted in a day, in an hour, or maybe just a 1 month thing. It might not hop from 1 year to another, like that can happen in a novel. Okay, so every scene should leave you at a cliffhanger. You know how much I love cliffhanger. Because when there is an open ending, people have questions. What next? So that is one thing. Now, adding the mystery elements, uh, first thing is whatever comes to your mind, note it down. If there is an object, if let's say you receive a parcel at your door, now it's pandemic time, you wouldn't open the parcel so easily, right? So what can happen with that parcel? There are many possibilities, right? You need to write down all the possibilities and knock off all the regular ones, knock off the cliches. Okay, like say the parcel, when you open the parcel, you get a set of crockery. That's a very cliche thing. Your mother might have ordered it, or some friend has sent you as a gift. But what if you get a rabbit, right?
Yeah, of course, that would be interesting. Kissing a rabbit beta.
Right.
Yes.
So there is one story I wrote, which is on Medium. It's called The Fugitive Box. A man gets a parcel at his doorstep, and when he opens it, it's a rabbit. Okay. Um, like, do you have? I'm sure you have read 13 Reasons Why. So,
Yeah.
what would you get in a parcel? Usually a gift, or you have ordered something.
Mm.
But expecting a tape, an audio tape in the time of MP3 files and live, you get a audio CD, audio tapes. That too, the old style of tapes, right? The stereo tapes, which is like amazing. You would automatically be intrigued. What is it? Kya hai isme? Let's go see, check, right? So that is where your scene freezes. So you
Yeah.
have to bring in elements which are unexpected, non-cliche. So if you get ideas, what can be in the parcel, who send you the parcel, if you get 10 ideas out of it, write all the 10 down. Okay. Now strike away anything which is cliche. Anything which is cliche, you have to stop. You have to stop there immediately.
Okay.
I recently read a book. Sorry.
No, no, I said okay, okay.
Yeah, so I recently read a book called The Girl Before. I don't remember. I think it's written by J.P. Delaney. Okay. So in the end, it's a story about a girl living in a very posh house at a very less rent because the architect is crazy. He has a set of rules every tenant has to abide by, so nobody comes into his house. And he is very rich. He doesn't care if somebody comes or not. But then the plot opens up slowly and gradually, and in the end also, एकदम last में जाके extreme end, you will know one more surprise, that the girl herself was a little bit crazy. She put herself into that situation intentionally. So
Mm.
these kind of endings, or these kind of endings will keep your readers turning the page, keep your readers go on with your story, read on your story. Otherwise, they'll put down the book. A very simple example is, I really don't like this book called The Catcher in the Rye.
No,
Okay,
no, you are going to say
a
that.
very hyped book. Yeah, I mean, probably people like it. I don't have a problem with that. It's your choice. But there is nothing happening in the book. There is really nothing happening in the book, and I'm one person. That sort of person who keeps on reading book until 50 pages. If even if I'm not interested, I would read until 50 pages. But for that book only, I sat down, I read it in 2 days in breaks, just because I wanted to know why there is so much of hype. And literally, there was nothing. There was nothing
Yeah.
in that book. But there is this book called Night Circus. I read about. Uh, I read the Night Circus 3 months back. Now I have switched to Audible. I hear stories in Audible rather than reading them because of time issues. So, if you want to see the imagination power of a writer, you should read that book. Uh, Probably it's as good as Harry Potter series. It's a lengthy book, but the imagination power is amazing. Every single every single chapter will blow your mind. And then
Okay,
uh,
definitely
the
read
writing
it.
style is also very good. Sorry.
I see. I said I'll definitely read it because I hadn't heard of it. The book that you
Yeah,
mentioned, Night Circus, right?
yeah. So there are two, three books I suggest a fiction writer must read. One is there's the Night Circle for the imagination the writer has used.
Hmm.
It's a magical realism book. There is a circus that comes up at dawn and that vanishes in the dusk. So as soon as the
Okay.
night falls, the circus would appear. You have to just buy the ticket and get into it. Everything is magic inside that. Okay. And
Hmm.
then in the morning, the circus vanishes. The whole story revolves around that. And then there are two magicians who are actually competing within that circus. And it's not a competition of 1 or 2 days. The competition goes for 36 long years. So if you
Ooh.
want to, yeah, 36, imagine 36 years is too much, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
you
you
got so much
want to,
material to work with there also, no? 36 years, right? Time, your characters can also change and you can like do so much with each
nothing
character.
changes. The
Amazing.
the beauty is one of the magicians doesn't let anything change. Nobody is growing old. Nobody is dying. There are very few people who die, very few people who are born. And that is because where the magic is failing or they break the rule of magic. The people who are dying or taking birth. So that book is, take your imagination to the highest level. I mean, I really think that book is, uh, I don't know what the author was thinking when he was writing it. That is like imagination at par. And then writing is a little bit flowery. Writing is a little bit flowery. There is a little bit of too much show don't tell, which I thought probably is okay because it is a book about magic. How can you define magic in words rather than showing it, right?
Hmm.
So that's okay. I think that was okay. The other book, can you see me?
Yeah, yeah, I can see you.
Hello?
I
Okay.
can
So
see
the
you. I
other
can
book
see you.
other book I always talk about is Kafka on the Shore. That's
Oh,
also one of your favorite, Vinti. Yeah.
yes.
So why I say that is one book a fiction writer has to read is because it has two point of views. One point of view is uh, from one point of view is first person, that is by Kafka or whatever the real name was, because we don't know the real name until I mean we never know the real name in the book, right? So
Yeah.
that was from first point of view, I mean first person, and the second point of view is by Nakata, which is third person point of view. The reason is Nakata is not very smart or very intelligent. So the writer has played there really well because
Yeah.
Nakata cannot think so much, right? He
Yeah.
he is a very simple person, very gullible, simple, naive person. He cannot think so much, so that he has given that third person point of view.
And
It's
the
like
most amazing thing that
it's
they
like
did.
a
Go ahead, go ahead.
no, your voice is cracking. I can hear you. And
Okay,
there
yeah,
is too much of disturbance in the background. You can see my daughter.
yes, I can. Maybe she'll do likes and subscribe.
She is scrolling, checking, going again, crawling, peeping
Of
into
course,
my
of course.
laptop. Am I visible? Am I disturbing? And then going again.
That's adorable. Yeah,
So
so what
you
I
were
was
saying
saying,
something about. Hmm.
yeah, the thing that they did, that Murakami Sensei did so well with the character, with the cats and with Nakata and the stone and his past, right? I don't want to do spoilers because this book is something that people should read. The way that sort of imagination, he doesn't tell us, what happened in the past, or how, how this person's subconscious was affected, so to speak, and he leaves us to imagine: did aliens come? Did ancients come? Did trauma happen? Did someone hit him in the head? Did
Right.
some kind of a god come and possess him? See, we can imagine what we want, and the plot works no matter what we imagine. And that stays till the very end, when the past is kind of revealed, so to speak, and then you're like, which is amazing. This is why Kafka is, I think, Kafka on the Shore is really, as you say, one of fiction book that is going to kind of, speak to you in the sense that if you want to be a good writer, this is what you aspire to write, in the sense that, let the reader reign supreme rather than
Right.
tell the reader. This is what I was thinking, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is one incident in that book about Kafka reaching the jungle where he will find two soldiers who are still alive from Second World War, who have not aged. Then he enters into a town where he meets the lady's younger self. Okay, I don't remember exactly. That Miss Sakuko or something.
Yeah, even I
Okay,
forgot.
the 50-year-old
The
lady.
lady at the repository that he worked at, Kafka worked at and slept at.
Right. So there are some books which will tell you how imagination can define your book. So these are two books I would say that they are highly imaginative. The writers have imagined too much in that book. I mean, their imagination might be at the highest level. I am not as good at reading like you. I mean, I haven't read so much, but these are two personal favorites. Then there is another book where you will the reader is caught up in the emotions is the Kite Runner.
Oh
Kite
my
Runner is
god.
an absolute favorite. Okay,
I was
so
crying
and
on Mumbai railway station while reading this
yeah.
book. And there was some sort of a cyclone that was happening at that point in time, and my train was cancelled, and I'm crying. And some amazing Punjabi uncle is like, "Beta, ro mat, ab ghar pahunch jaoge." I'm like, "Uncle, I'm crying because of the book." And then uncle is also laughing. He's going, "Kiska book ho?" I'm like, "Uncle Khaled Hosseini." And he also told me that he cried a lot while reading Thousand Split Suns.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is, I think that is what Khalid Husseini is very good at. His words will come and directly say arrow ki tarah, it is going to come and strike you in the eyes, and then you'll go.
I think I think that was the book. Kite Runner was the book which told me stop reading Paulo Coelho, read something better. Honestly, I mean, there may be many people who are his fans, but that book told me stop reading Paulo Coelho, start reading something better. Okay, I
Yeah.
still like some of his books, Paulo's book. Um, Okay, 11 minutes is one for the writing, although it is, a kind of very adult kind of book, but not for that. The story is very interesting. Then uh, I didn't like Alchemist. There is nothing good in Alchemist for me. Zahir was okay. Zahir was actually good. Okay. Then another book that I really think a mystery writer, especially a mystery writer, has to read, two books they have to read is Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train. Girl on the Train.
Yes. Exactly.
But my personal favorite right now is The Girl Before, which I read recently or I heard on Audible
I
recently.
haven't read
The
it.
Girl Before
I
is
need to
very
read
different. It's different
it. Okay.
because there is a lot of technology in the book, and I have the soft spot for technology in stories. So I
Yeah,
think
I
these are some of books.
see. I see. So, do you do a very weird question? But do you recommend combining genres, as in combining,
Which one?
say, mis- do you recommend combining genres, two different genres, like say, romance with
Exactly.
sci-fi?
See, so okay, so there is a peeping Tom just next to me who picked my phone.
Okay.
Okay, so the peeping Tom is asking me, she wants to listen to everything what I'm saying. Okay, so yes, mixing genre is the best thing we can do. It is very difficult to write just romance. If there is no, no tragedy in the romance, there is no story. Every story has to have a conflict.
I
Okay, so
see.
Aditya joined us. Yeah. So, okay, somebody
Guys, I
said
know
Kite Runner is.
I know my voice is breaking, but I have internet issues, and Rashmi is very busy, so I have to ensure that her time gets handled irrespective of my internet
No,
issues.
no, I
So
am
I have
not busy.
confidence
I'm
for
not
her taking
busy.
voice. You are
I'm not
busy.
busy.
See, this is
I
what
was, I was trying to push it. The only reason is this disaster that happened a month back. Okay, okay. So somebody is Kite Runner is not by Paulo Coelho. Yes, I know Kite Runner is my personal favorite. Kite Runner, the
she
book
said. She,
Thief.
after reading Kite Runner, she did not want to read Paulo Coelho anymore. She's not saying Kite Runner is by
Yeah.
Paulo Coelho.
So Kite Runner was the book which told me to stop reading Paulo Coelho and start reading good books. That is what I'm trying to say. Maybe I may have conflicting views. You may not agree with me. Probably Paulo Coelho could be your favorite, but I read about. I started reading the girl who wept by the river, something who sat by the river Piedro and wept. I dropped it after 10 pages or 15 pages, and a lot of books happen like that. Okay, so coming back to mystery, the question was how to weave mystery into the book. So, first is
Yeah.
you have to have some suspense, and that is not for mystery, it is mandatory for mystery and thriller and horror. But suspense is required in every book, every single book. If you want your readers to keep turning the pages, to keep going with the book, there has to be suspense. And for suspense, you have to have cliffhangers. So you have to keep questions open for your readers. Okay, you have to create questions. Next, what? Then, second thing is to create mystery in the book, you have to, you know, have to make a list of what all can create mystery, rule out the cliches, knock off the cliche. Anything which is cliche has been used. Probably your idea has been used too, but then give it a twist, give something different to it. Okay. So in most of the stories, the wife who goes insane has husband, who is behind the scenes. Okay, fine. I mean, that's a cliche. But why? Give a different reason. Not money angle, not extramarital affair, or not his, narcissist mind, or not something else, but give him a different reason to torture the wife. The reason has to be unique. Because there are only 7 plots as per the literature, laureates. There are only 7 plots. Okay,
Very
so
interesting question.
Nada Nada is asking what is your thought process for weaving fiction history. I really don't get into historical fiction. That is very complex, and any single miss and people would rip you apart. So it is better not to do that. But I've written two historical fiction. One is a 3,000 word story, 3,500 word story that I recently submitted to an anthology. I'm really not sure whether it is selected or not. Other one is I wrote 2 years back. Both the stories are on Holocaust. Both are yet not selected anywhere. So the thought process of writing history, fictional history, I mean historical fiction is you choose incidents that are true, you choose places that are true, give them I mean your most of the elements should be authentic, but you should have fictional characters. Okay, so if the story that I wrote last week or last week about Holocaust is there is a city in Germany at Swiss border which is called Constance. Okay, so they used to keep their lights on during night so that people would think that they are from Switzerland, and they are Switzerland was a neutral country in World War II. So they used to keep their lights on in the night. That is how they avoided bombardments. But this city, Constance, which is connected to the Swiss city just by a river, there is only a small river in between them. So what they did was they kept their lights on whole night. Imagine they did it for many years, and they never had any bombardment. So that's a truth. That's there is no fiction in that. You can read it in history. You can read it in Wikipedia. There are lots of material available over there. But then, how would be the people around it? What if the people who are living in that particular city? What are their thought process? How are they coping up with this thing? Are they I mean are they able to pay such a high electricity bill because they are keeping their lights on every night, right? So
Yeah.
their electricity bill must be very high. So that is one thing. There could be a love story behind it between the two people who are from the two cities, which is just have a bifurcation by a river. So most of the part has to be
Taking a
true.
bit of a tangent here, but like the thing that
Binti,
you're
I
saying.
need charger. I need
Okay.
charger for my laptop.
Oh,
It's
get it, get it.
it got discharged more than expected. So
Yeah,
I'll just be
streaming
back
is
in a minute.
very, yeah. So while Rashmi is gone, I can talk about the point that she was making, which is there is this amazing movie by Taika Waititi called Jojo Rabbit. And Jojo Rabbit, I think, is a good example of fictional history creation done very well. So what he has done is he has taken a little town in Germany, and in Nazi Germany, and they have shown like a Nazi family, a woman and her Nazi child, and the Nazi child is being raised in Nazi Germany. So it's like the child is indoctrinated into believing whatever Hitler used to say, and one is that reason why the reason why I laughed when I said that was because the kids to create satire around that very depressing topic. What Taika Waititi did was he gave that little kid uh, an imaginary friend who is Hitler, and he incorporated this very real historical element of cocaine into the story. So this is not a very well-known fact, but Nazi Germany used to do a lot of cocaine. Okay, so
Hmm.
almost everyone was drugged out of their minds, and all the Aryans were drugged out of their minds, and the reason why most of them used to, act so flippantly and so aggressively was they were on a drug high. And we're not talking about the soldiers, we're talking about the people in the cities, and they used to be very
Oh,
colorful. So essentially, that's the thing, right? Like the real Nazi Germany was very colorful and very drugged up. Not talking about the army here. So that is what Taika Waititi did. He incorporated that aspect of history and created one of, in my opinion, one of the best satirical movies plots that has ever, it been created. So that is, as Rashmi says, find the weird. He found the weird. He gave a little kid Hitler as an imaginary friend. And then throughout the course of the movie, we see how the kid realizes that Hitler is not the actual person that you should listen to. You should listen to your humanity instead. And he uses dance as a metaphor. So, with historical fiction creation, I think that is what we could do. We could take obscure facts, real facts about history, and kind of find the weird in that obscure fact and then play on it using our writing abilities. So yeah, Rashmi is back and now she can continue answering the question that she was,
Yeah.
and she can also answer one more question that has come in. Go ahead.
So there, I think that is all I can tell about historical fiction because I'm not an expert. Now coming to there is one question on science fiction. So yes, science fiction are really great. I love science fiction. That is how I started. I thought I will write science fiction mainly, but somehow while writing, I realized mystery is very interesting. And so science fiction, so there are basically two kinds of science fiction. One is hard sci-fi, one is soft sci-fi. So hard sci-fi is mostly about aliens, a spaceship, opera, all these things. Soft sci-fi will have some elements of science in your story, which actually exist in this world at the moment. Okay,
Hmm.
like time travel is probably hard sci-fi, but anything related to robotics, like a robot is helping you in household chores and it goes haywire for some reason, that is probably a soft sci-fi. So yes, sci-fi stories are really interesting. uh, I have I have a novel work in progress. It's a psychological thriller, so with lots of mystery into it. And one more thing is, when you write mystery or thriller, there is a very thin line. There is a very thin line that can differentiate, but basically they mix into one. At the end, it is very difficult to identify or differentiate between a thriller or a mystery.
Hmm.
Okay, so, so that's the issue with thriller or mystery. So psychological thriller is something which will have lots of mystery elements into it.
Right. So can I
So,
can I
uh,
interject a bit here?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So with science, because I'm also working on science fiction actually. The thing that I can't talk about has a lot to do with science fiction, where I am kind of using the light, the physical element that is light, physics, science ka phenomena which is light, and exploiting it. So if you look at very popular science fiction books, like say Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or 2001 Space Odyssey, all these books, you're going to see very different forms of writing. So Odyssey is very technical in the sense the tablet, the monolith, is described in detail. So is HAL, so is the spacecraft. Every single element of the science fiction is hardcore science, right? And it shows you the power of good research to create a good work. And similarly, we have Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not a lot of science, but amazing, amazing writing, so to speak, in the sense that uh, the premise that is chosen is someone who is taking lift across different galaxies and planets and stuff like that. So we are not getting descriptions of spaceships, and we're not getting descriptions of ejection sequences and all of that. We're getting a plot. So I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what you are doing with your story. And now I'll go into movies like Her or Ex Machina or TV series like Devs, right? These are hardcore science fiction concepts where science is not explained at all, but the dilemma associated to the science. Like what happens when we create a sentient AI that looks like a human being, right? That they have shown in Ex Machina. No science explanation is given, no quantum this, no tech this, no machine learning, no this, no that, no technical terms, just philosophical musings that comes with machine getting sentience, right? That is amazing.
Hmm.
Same with Her, where we had a Siri type system that people were treating as a human being, and then suddenly it leaves. And the consequences, we were not told that this is the technology. that is making these things work. We were just shown the repercussions of the technology and the musings associated to the technology. So, like, that is also an interesting take on science fiction that people can explore, I think. Uh, your opinions and your expectations with science woven into characters, you know?
Right. So I know somebody who is an Australian, and she mostly writes science fiction. Okay. Though she's not from science background also, she was a teacher, now she's a full-time writer. So she writes science fiction with lots of mystery elements to it. So I would say there in every science fiction you don't really need to define the concept of science. If you are using robots, people know what is a robot. If you are using an AI system, people know what is AI system. If your story revolves around aliens, people know what are aliens. But then again, science fiction on aliens or robots have been explored so much that you have to find your USP. And in fact, it's there in every story. Okay, so if whether you write romance, whether you write mystery, historical fiction, you have to find a USP. You cannot, you cannot explore the same. There is no point reinventing the wheel. Your wheel has to have something different. No cliches. So that is the biggest thing a story should have. It shouldn't have cliche. And cliche is not about just, the dialogue that people start writing seasons or nature, describing what is it's raining and how is the rain feeling like. So that is definitely cliche. Your character should not be cliche. I think we cannot talk about characters right now because that would be more in depth. So the questions that I'm getting during September is more about how to write, how to weave a plot, how to get into a plot. Now, probably everybody is now okay. So Aditi is saying I once wrote a love story on science fiction writing competition. Admire anyone who can write sci-fi. So yes, you definitely can mix and merge two genres. In fact, you know, genres are basically dividing the story, but then it is not at all a thumb of rule to have your story confined to one particular compartment. Your like as I said, my work in progress is a psychological thriller with lots of mystery elements or suspense, and it has a Siri like thing at home, which is not Siri, which is not Alexa. It's something else. I mean, it's a home automation device or a home assistant device, which I have called as Homey. Okay, so that is still a tentative name. That plays a big role because I have to put technology into it for that sake. And yes, it plays a role. That's also another reason. You can definitely have a love story between an earthling and an alien, right? What is that story? John Carter, I think. John Carter is a story about an earthling who goes to Mars, and there are people who are like 8, 9 feet tall, something like that. And so it's a story about a man, a human, and an alien of Mars who fell in love, right?
Yeah, so
So definitely you can.
to interject, this is one thing that Rashmi mentioned. The reason why science fiction is so trippy is, see, what people do is when they start going into science, when what amateurs make as a mistake in science fiction, I find, because I am making those mistakes because I'm an amateur at this point in time. So essentially, what happens is we assume that everything about science obeys the laws of science of our reality, right? And then we don't really work on our imagination, and we don't really put the effort into doing in-depth plot analysis. So as she said, this person goes on Mars and there are like these really really tall species. So whenever you are trying to write science fiction, this is one thing you have to be careful for, because science fiction has a very particular audience, nerds. If you make mistakes in the science, the nerds will rip you apart, and they
Right.
will kind of really leave reviews that will haunt you for years. So whenever you are trying to create science fiction, don't make the mistake of assuming that laws of science on earth are going to be the same as laws of science on Mars, because their gravity is different, their atmosphere is different, their soil concentration is different. So you have to take care of these elements when you are, designing your characters to fit into the
Uh-huh.
plot, so to speak. The mic is
Okay, so
on.
the peeping Tom is back.
We
I cannot
heard.
throw her out. Yeah,
Of course,
I
of course.
cannot throw her
Let
out.
her
So
live.
let her be. Let her be.
Yeah.
You can actually say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Okay, so
Hello.
there are at least 10 people here. So coming back to, okay, so I think somebody asked sci-fi is done mythological stories. So in India, mythology has been done to death. Yeah, I mean, and we have mythological experts like Amish Tripathi, Devdutt Patnaik, and uh, Kavita Kane. Kavita Kane is very good. Devdutt Patnaik is very good. I picked one book from Amish Tripathi. I couldn't read it. Probably I picked up a wrong book from the series, which was second or third book in the series. That was probably a mistake. But then there has to be something different in mythology which can intrigue you. And
Ashwin
in
Sanghi is the
India,
best example for
yeah.
mythological fiction. It's the best
Mhm.
example because he's I think he's referred to as the Dan Brown of India, and he's done what Dan Brown does very well, which is they take actual history and then they mix conspiracy theories with the history, and then they do this, or
Oh.
they create one of the most hooking plot ever,
Mm.
because we see conspiracy theories are very appealing. If someone tells you that the big man or the big woman or the big character that everyone looks up to had some shady things in the background, you'll go, ooh, tell me more, because that is human nature. We like to oppose power, right? So that's what Dan Brown does.
Right.
Dan Brown attacks these very religious symbols. That is precisely what Ashwin Sanghi has been doing with Indian characters, and it is amazing.
Mm.
They're just taking mythology and history and taking conspiracy theory and going hi-fi. So that is something that you could do, that everything is right there. All you have to do is you have to find the right research, and then you have to do the transition words, show don't tell, proper language structures and such, and yeah, voila, you have your book.
So if we could, we don't need to go to technology of writing. I mean, technical part of writing. It is like it is going to take ages. Show don't tell itself will take at least 2 to 3 sessions to
I know.
discuss, explore, and all. Then
That's why
there
I
is
haven't
red
asked you
herring
about
for
show don't tell at all. Because I'll be like,
show don't tell. Okay, now coming to now we if you have a plot, if you still do not have a plot, there is another good tool you can find. Okay, so there are what do you say, there are lots of phobias people have. Okay, like there is what is that height problem called vertigo.
hmm,
So write a short story on a day in the life of a person who has vertigo, a day in the life of a insomniac person. That's I wrote a story. I have a friend in Delhi who is a poet. She writes amazing Hindi poetry. She sleeps only for 2 hours a day. उसको नींद ही नहीं आती है. She cannot sleep more than that. So inspired from her, I wrote a very small microfiction called a microfiction like a day in the life of an insomniac. So this is to tickle your creative bones, to keep stories coming up. When you start writing, then only plots will start coming to you. Nobody has a, a pot of plot somewhere, a treasure or a safe of plot somewhere at their home, or they don't have something in your stomach which keeps telling you this is a plot. You have to keep your eyes, minds, ears open all the time. So write a story about a person who is bipolar. Write a story about a person who is afraid of color red. Okay, I have a relative who is afraid of red color, so they don't wear red dresses often. Okay, so I have another relative who is afraid of water only in the night. Okay, they're not afraid of water in morning, but they are afraid of water only in night. So think about weirdities you see in your life. Write a short story about that person, and uh, you don't need to write how he eats, she sleeps, or all that. I mean, what if a person is insomniac? What will she do, or what will he do in the night to kill her time, right? What if a person who is afraid of dark is thrown into a dark room for 3 days? So that is how you need to come up with a plot. Now, let's say you have a plot, say XYZ plot, you already have a storyline or a theme. How would you expand it? How would you put it into paper? Okay, so I had two agenda for this live session. One is how to come up with a plot. Then once you have a plot, how to expand it. Okay, so the basic idea is if you have something in your mind, okay, like a day in the life of a gardener. Okay, so just write one line. There is a gardener, or Rashmi is a gardener who loves to grow only organic food items. So this is your, but she is afraid of dark. So this is your theme, or this is your one line about the story. Now, what will happen next? Expand that one single line into one paragraph. Okay, so let's say Rashmi is a gardener. She enjoys doing organic farming. She's planning to set up an organic farm somewhere around her, around the vicinity of her city, into the suburbs, or into the, into the solitary area, or somewhere in a farm. But there is a big problem. You have to come up with a conflict. What is the conflict? Either she doesn't have money to start organic farming, or the land which she has bought for organic farming is disputed. She didn't know this, but now it is disputed. Or she suddenly has developed allergy, from allergy with soil, allergy with seeds, allergy with pollen grains, something like that. I mean, I don't know how do you do gardening when you have so much of allergy with pollen grains. I mean, I would definitely stay
Dust,
away.
dust. I have dust allergy and I still have a garden.
That's
It's
why.
torture.
So that is the conflict. You have a conflict in your story, but you have to come up with the resolution, or how to fight with that conflict. So let's say I have a land which is disputed. Now what will happen? The case will go to court, or you will file a case against the court and all that. Now find a resolution. You may have a number of resolutions. You go to the court, you file a petition, your petition gets rejected, the land owner was very big shot. All these are cliche. But whatever comes to your mind, write it down. Even if it is a cliche, even if it has been written already, write it down. Unless you write it down, you wouldn't know what are the possibilities, right? So by the end of your brainstorming, you would be able to have at least 5 6 ideas. Then you can strike out what is cliche. Okay, most of the time what I do is, if I get an idea, I used to write them earlier, but now every story has to take birth in my mind first. While cooking, I think about it. While going to bed, in shower, I think about it. So you have to construct that story within your mind. Even if you get half of it, at least some part of it, then start writing. But that is probably after you have a little bit of experience. Once you have written at least 10 stories, So, and ideas escape your mind because you're not seasoned with trapping the ideas. So, trap them in papers, write them down. Once you start writing them, then only you will get more ideas. It's like, it's like खुशियां बांटने से बढ़ती है. The more you think about the plot and the story, you'll get better ideas. You will get more ideas. So that is how you have to do. So you write one line first, whatever you get in your mind, then you expand it into one paragraph. You expand it into one scene afterwards. Okay, so write one after you have one paragraph, maybe expand it into one page, 2 pages, and then divide it into scenes. And then once you have your ending, write 2 to 3 endings. Okay. If you are very sure that your ending is this, write it down. But if you're not sure, write 2 endings, 3 endings, 4 endings. Okay. Like for my work in progress, I had 2 to 3 endings written somewhere in my notebook, but later on I zeroed down to only one ending, which I was satisfied. So I completed that. For my one of my recent stories called The Healer of Dreams, it's a it's a supernatural kind of story. I really cannot categorize it into a genre, but it's about a man who can enter into somebody's dream. He cannot heal them as such, but if they are traumatic dreams, he can see what is happening in their dream, and then in reality he helps them to heal. He tells them some suggestions. He helps them come out of that trauma.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll interrupt.
So,
I'll interrupt. There is this Japanese movie called Paprika. I think it's a Studio Ghibli or one of the very big studios, animation studios of Japan, has created this movie called Paprika, which
mhm,
combines science fiction and the art of healing. So they have created this device which allows psychologists to, as you said, go into the dreams of their
okay.
patients, and
Mhm,
then that device gets stolen, and someone has
o-
started using that device to commit crimes and to like get the patients to commit suicide, so to speak. So
mhm.
someone is
Oh,
using the device to make people kill themselves. So that is the premise of Paprika, and Paprika is one of these scientists, the good scientists, who is trying to fight the person who has stolen the device. So that is the
mhm,
plot, and it is so colorful. Even if it is dealing with some very dark themes like
mhm,
psychoanalysis, suicide, technology, obesity, and body image issues. This is all that is being countered into that entire 1.5 animated movie. But that was storytelling done so well. So
mhm,
it's like the imagination is a very blank canvas, and you just have to pick like a big ball of paint and throw stuff at it, going
mhm.
blob 1, blob 2, blob 3, and at the end we've got this amazing painting. So yeah, I apologize for interrupting you, but I suddenly
Hey,
remembered
that's okay. It's good to know. Yeah.
yeah,
So there is a movie called Inception, very famous movie where uh, what is
the
his name? Brad Pitt,
and
right?
no,
In Inception, Brad
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo. Okay, right, right. So this DiCaprio,
Thanks,
he
Andy.
enters into somebody's dream. He plant ideas into dreams, steal ideas from the dreams. So honestly, when I wrote that story, I tried to watch that movie, but I couldn't watch it beyond 10 minutes because you cannot that was my thought actually, but things can be different in fiction and imagination. But my thought was, even if you can enter into somebody's dream, you cannot manipulate them. They are their dreams, they are their property, not yours. You are a trespasser. So you can definitely trespass because you have the power to trespass the dreams, but you're not god. You are not powerful enough to modify somebody's dream. You are
Yeah.
just a character in that dream. You are just a puppet, and the dream, who is watching that dream, is actually the owner. So it has to be driven by that person, not by you. So I stopped that movie because I thought, I mean, it literally struck me that this is going to bias me. It is going to distract my story from what I wanted to write. And honestly, when you write a story, you read
Hmm.
that particular genre. Like my primary focus right now is psychological thriller because my work in progress is a psychological thriller. Okay, so Me Before You, Gone Girl, Girl on the Train, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, probably, and then there are a lot of such movies. The silent books, The Silent Patient. Um, there is Girl in Cabin Number 10, something like that. The Best Eaten Cold. There are a lot of books like that. Okay, so you read in that genre, but don't get it, hack your brain. Your story has to be yours. Don't, if you feel like a movie or a book in that particular genre is going to hack your brain, is going to change your idea, don't do that. Because it would become a cliche, it would become a copy of something else
You'll
which
get
you want to
influenced
tell will
by
not come
this.
out, right? You get biased, you get influenced with that. So I immediately stopped that movie over there because one or two people even asked me, are you inspired from Inception? I said I had this idea from 2018 in my mind, and I didn't know Inception. I mean, I didn't know about that movie, but while researching, I came to know about it, and I watched it for 10-15 minutes, but I dropped the idea. The dream into the dream sequence, that when the hero realizes it's not just one dream, it's an embedded dream, a dream into the dream. I dropped the idea there itself. Okay.
I see.
So one thing is, if you do not have the what should I say, if you do not know your story right now, but even if you have a slight idea, write it down, expand it, think about it, and you'll get ideas at very weird, time frames. When you are in washroom, when you're walking, you do not have your pen and paper, but don't let the idea slip away.
I mean, see,
Okay.
just as you were talking about dreams, I suddenly remembered two things. I remembered two mythological characters. One is Morpheus, other is Baku. So what Morpheus does is, ऐसे अपने, even in Indian mythology, we have this. It's not really in dreams, but suddenly one of the devtas will come and tell you stuff. ऐसे दिव्या वाणी sky में से suddenly निकलती है,
I lost you.
where okay. Am I still there or no?
Yes, you are there. There was a slight glitch, but
Okay.
I didn't. I lost you.
Okay. So
So.
when you were mentioning dreams, I had two mythological characters pop up in my head. So one is Baku. What
Mhm.
Baku does is it comes in your dreams whenever you are having nightmares and it eats your nightmares, and that is how Baku survives.
Oh,
uh, yeah. Similarly, there's Morpheus. Morpheus is someone who comes in your dreams and leaves you messages from gods. So Greek gods were like
okay.
Ekta Kapoor serial characters. Okay, they like to interfere in everyone's lives. So if someone caught their fancy, they would do all this. They would
Poseidon.
send Morpheus.
the-
Exactly. They would send Morpheus to leave SMS in your dreams. So that could be your mythological fiction. You can imagine Morpheus as an SMS that is coming in your dream in the shape of a very hot human being. So, this is what you could do. You could
so
just hear
so
something and go, "Oh, idea."
this is like one idea about dream. You can have a psychological thriller, a slight psychological thriller, which was my story, with a little bit of supernatural elements. So psychological thriller falls into mystery, and your supernatural elements fall into SSF, super science fiction, speculative fiction. Sorry, speculative fiction. So you covered two genres into one story. I covered. Now your Baku story and Morpheus story is like crime thriller with lots of drama. Okay,
Yeah,
so you are
exactly.
mixing two genres here. Now imagine you have somebody invents a sci-fi. Somebody invents a device which can, when you are sleeping, and let's say it's a headband, and you wear it in on your head. Okay, and the dream that you see, it actually clicks the photos of that dream. Okay, it goes into your subconscious mind, clicks the photo of that dream, and then
बापू की शादी
uh,
दिखी उसमें.
whatever. What could be the purpose? So it's like a sci-fi with a dream. So that is
Hmm.
how you write story. You have to keep thinking, and if you're not able to brainstorm with uh, within yourself, maybe start brainstorming with your friends who are interested. Okay, go to forums. There are a lot of comments which can jolt you, which can jerk your ideas. Okay, with that dream thing only, just imagine, there is a device, again sci-fi, which helps two people to meet in dream, a boy and a girl. They meet in their dreams, they are sharing dreams, and sharing dreams is something I've read about, is not common, but it happens. A brother and a sister used to share their dreams. They had to have exactly same dreams. Imagine, these kind of unexplained things can happen. So two people, there is a device which infuse two people into one single dream. They meet there, and they fall in love. So I think, okay, so this is about sci-fi element, okay, and romance. I think there was a book, I don't exactly remember, but a lady who is not very happy in her married life meets somebody in her dreams daily, and fell in love with him. So weird ideas really make good stories. Weird ideas and weird people. If your character is weird, everybody is going to love them.
Yeah.
Now, expanding your story is like, once you write a few stories, you start getting that picture within your mind. You start, creating the story in your mind. But that happens only when you start writing. If you do not write, you have to keep writing to get the plots. Now, you know, after 3.5 years, it's almost 3 years and 3 months now that I'm writing fiction. Um, so I get ideas, I get plots every day. And the castle is built within the mind itself before getting into paper. Another good way is, you choose your instrument. You are good with pen and paper. So you write down on a paper about your story. I have one story which is my personal favorite, and that story, uh, I started writing that story on paper, and it has come out really well. I do not know why it is rejected everywhere. I send it to competitions, anthologies, literary magazines, not magazine actually, literary portals every now and then, but it gets rejected. So the idea of that story, how it came out is, if there are certain group of people who live in Andaman and Nicobar Island, who are not very technical, or who are not, they don't go along the world. They are very backward people, and they want to be that way. They are happy being tribes. They are happy without mobile, without electricity, without gadgets. So particularly, there is one community over there in Andamans called Sentinelese, something like that. Okay, so the
North
island
Sentinel,
in,
North Sentinels, North Sentinels,
yes,
जिन्होंने वो
North
खोज करी.
Sentinels, right? Right. So they killed one American 4 years, 3 years back in 2018, around second half of the year in 2018. So the idea came from that. So these Sentinelese, very complex name. So what they do is they don't want to interact with the actual world. They want to remain in their confinement. They live a very old kind of living. They still do farming. They don't have gadgets. They live under thatch and huts. So the idea of the story came where there are certain people in a community, like 100 200 people, who are not who are waiting for the rain god to bless them with rains for 4 years. So it's been 4 years, they haven't received any monsoon. The river that is flowing by is shrinking, and there is a particular dance they have to do to appease the rain god, to please the rain god. Okay, and the leader is not leader doesn't want to do that particular dance, but the tribe is forcing him to do that dance. So the story is called the dance of death. Actually, in that dance, you have to sacrifice somebody. You have to sacrifice the young blood. Then only your rain deity will shower rain on you, and your crops will flourish and all. And then the leaders, the head who leads the community, his son comes from mainland, that is like Goa. So I never mentioned that this is the particular community. That would be an offense. We cannot or we shouldn't do that. You get inspiration from a particular community, but it is better to avoid any naming over there. So,
What happened?
so that story is about that. So that is how you get the ideas. Now, um, in India, we have lot of drama around Kumbh Mela. If you
Yeah.
go watch videos around Kumbh, you will see lots of documentaries. Okay, because Kumbh is something that attracts the whole world. So this
Yeah.
you can write a lot of stories about Kumbh Mela. I tried actually, but I couldn't finish it. So the unfinished stories, I have at least 50 unfinished stories in my laptop. I start them, I couldn't finish them, but I aim to finish all of them one by one, one by one, because it's that your idea is not convincing enough sometimes.
Mm.
So enough of me talking, enough of me blabbering. This is all I talked about. What I experienced so far, how I write, how I create stories. But if anybody of you has any question, please ask.
Yeah. The thing is open to questioning. I think we've had some amazing questions where, people asked about science fiction, mythology, historical
Right.
writing, such and such. So, yeah, if you have any other questions, go ahead, ask them, or I think we'll be ending this live. We'll talk about characters, we'll talk about something else, maybe in the next one, whenever time permits. But yeah, the reason why we have to separate all these different topics is you can't talk about these very, very detailed topics in micro formats. You need to kind
Right.
of give in a lot of time to discuss all these things because uh, y- we can give you short tests. Rashmi could have taken the easy way out and gone, yeah, Karlo, and then that's it. But like, you won't understand what she means if she does that. That is why the whole fiction writing process has been broken into bits for your convenience and your understanding, so to speak. So I don't think we'll have any more questions per se. So I
Mhm.
suppose let's end the live. Yeah. Do you have any closing
And
remarks?
just one more thing I would like to add is when you're writing or when you get a plot, um, write as whatever comes to your mind, just write it down. Okay, if you get two thoughts about a character, that my character has to be tall, but then you feel no, your character has to be short, write both of them down. Once you finish your story, you will get a better picture. Okay, once
I see.
once you finish it, or at least you proceed, you will get more ideas. Then only you can finalize, because when you start it, you will definitely have multiple views about one incident, one scene, one character. But that should not bog you down to start the story or finish the story. Another thing is, if you are a beginner, don't go about the technical parts of show don't tell. There are hundreds of technical parts in fiction writing. Even I may not know a lot of them, like how to write good dialogues. Forget writing about good dialogues. First, you understand how to come up with story ideas. That is the most important, because in stories there are only two things. One is your plot has to be very good, other is your writing has to be very good. Anything which is technical goes into how should you write, like dialogue writing, creating a hook, creating a cliffhanger. There are so many things, like show don't tell is one. We often talk about red herring, foreshadowing, and then creating suspense, giving your character some particular attributes, and ending the story arc, the character arc. There are a lot of technical things. Don't go into it from start. You will get confused. So first, you should bring yourself to that point that yes, if I am getting a prompt, if somebody gives me a prompt, I can at least spin two stories out of it. And then probably you can start going down into the technical part of how to write good stories. Okay, and another thing is just go Google for prompts. Just go and check. There would be hundreds of prompts available. There are very good websites like Writer Digest, authors helping writers. Sorry, I'm not able to recollect right now. Then
Read Readsy is a great place. You can
Readsy
they
is
give
there.
you they give you prompts. You have to submit the prompts, and the winner gets like a
Hmm.
cash prize. So you can get paid also via your prompt writing exercises. So even the
Yeah,
subreddit.
that is very tough. That is actually very tough to get, being paid for a fiction. It is very different from content. For content, you can easily ask money that we are actually, many of us are asking, but for fiction, nobody pays you. Honestly, at least not in India. There are hundreds of magazines, literary journals, competitions like they said, Readsy is one, Flash Fiction is one, Reader Digest, Writer Digest, all of them organize. They pay, but getting selected is like, very tough. I have never been selected so far. That is my experience. But that should not
Book
deter you. So,
this is one
sorry.
advice that I need book agents essentially. This is one common advice that I have received from working as like a book ghostwriter for like 2 years now. So essentially, when we talk about publishing houses and all the good books and all the good things go via publishing houses, and if we don't have contacts there, no matter what we do, this is the unfortunate aspect of existing in the content sphere. Fiction, non-fiction, everything. It's easier to do non-fiction than fiction because with non-fiction you can network at least. With fiction, though, you need agents who can
Actually,
help you.
I don't know. I cannot comment on whether fiction is harder than non-fiction, but fiction is definitely very hard than content. That I can assure you.
Of course,
Content
of course.
industry goes separate. Fiction is very different, because even if you are writing very beautiful, your writing is amazing. If your plot doesn't intrigue a reader, nobody would buy the book. If your plot is amazing but your writing is not good, then there are again problems. And then what makes the writing poor is not just one thing. There can be hundred of issues. You may not realize it. Even if your story is good and your writing is good, still your story will slack at some point of time.
Kill your
So
darlings wala thing, right? The Stephen King
you
novels.
have to kill your darlings. Yeah, that's a different thing. I mean, whenever I think about this thing, the story that comes into my mind is my sister's keeper. How that 13-year-old girl is killed in the end. Oh my god! And then Dobby and Dumbledore. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what? Uh, once only if you start writing fiction, then only you'll start getting ideas and plots. You'll not get plots and ideas if you just sit and think. So log everything, write an Excel sheet. The simplest ways to make an Excel sheet. Just write down all your ideas in an Excel sheet. I have a very big Excel sheet with I don't know how many ideas. So write your idea in an Excel sheet, and whenever you get time, scan through it. You'll get more ideas. Whenever you get time, again scan through it. You'll at least add two more ideas, I'm sure. So to write good, you have to write every day. To get better plots, you have to still write. So that is the only thing you have to start doing.
Mm. Yeah,
We
couldn't
talked a lot.
disagree
I
with it
didn't
at all.
realize.
Of course, this is why I told you that, if we take a specific timing, just say 1 hour, then it will be like at some point it will be like a dog is running behind us going "Mm, mm, 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 mm," and then the thing breaks. So yeah, that's why we did it at such an unconventional time. So yeah, I think you're done with your closing remarks now.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for
Thank you
listening me,
guys. Thank
listening
you
to
guys
me.
for joining us.
Bye.
And just adding a little note here, which is we have a microfiction thing going on LinkedIn right now. It's just a practice exercise that started randomly from a LinkedIn post about why don't we do challenges, community building exercises, and challenges without any gains or without any sort of caveats. Ki इससे follower बढ़ेगा, इससे lead बढ़ेगा. No, nothing like that. Just create a proper writing community and participate with it as much as you want to or can. So we started this thing called Fictember where we are writing little fiction thingies, and we are sort of trying to help each other out however we can with improvement. So if you guys want to join it, you can use the hashtag Fictember to put the stories up, and there's a group as well which you could join where you have to post the links if you want to get feedback and such. So yeah, if you want to really get someone like Rashmi or Shweta or Nada to give you actual writing advice or give you actual fiction feedback on your stories, you can definitely join in the movement, so to speak, where we're just writing, that's it, और कुछ नहीं कर रहे हम लोग, just writing.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's like flexing your muscles. And if you
Mhm.
wanted to write a story forever, but you never got time, you never got idea, you were not in that mindset. So community is the best part. If you haven't heard of NaNoWriMo, so NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. It happens all over the world, and amazing novels have come out of NaNoWriMo. What you do in NaNoWriMo is join some groups in your mainly in your country, in your region, and write in pomodoro, using pomodoro technique. You write for 25 minutes or 15 minutes, take a break of 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and within 30 days people knock off 50,000 words. So 50,000 words is huge. But when you do with community, a lot of people do it within 20 days. I did my first NaNoWriMo, which is my current work in progress, within 22 days. After that, in the next 8 days, I was so excited that I knocked off 50,000 words that I just wrote 10,000. But then you get a certificate, you make up a huge network, you get into the mojo, and you always wanted to write a book. You will have a draft, at least a first draft, which is always inspiring by the end of NaNoWriMo. We are going to talk about NaNoWriMo very soon, maybe mid October or something, because you need to do a little bit of preparation for NaNoWriMo to do it very well, to get results. If you
Yeah.
like, I hopped on in 2018 without any planning, without anything. I still managed to write 50,000 words. I wrote 62,000 words at that time, but then it was very poor. So the work with work in progress is huge to do right now. So if you want to do NaNoWriMo, let me or Binti know, and maybe we can do more than one session. And there is a lot of preparation that goes into it. So maybe we can prepare together and we can do NaNoWriMo together sometime in, I mean, in November over LinkedIn.
Yeah, and
That is
this is
all.
this is just a random comment coming from my side. But when you write in a group, I did my NaNoWriMo for the first time last year, based on some post on LinkedIn that Rashmi did, and I was like, "What is this?" And she explained it to me, and she got on a call with me, and I also managed to write 50,000 words in 1 month because I had Rashmi kind of encouraging me from the background, going, "Mere itne hue." I'm like, I have to catch up. So it did work out. And as I keep mentioning, there's something I can't talk about, but I'll talk about it whenever it's okay to talk about. And that is the result of what I did for my first NaNoWriMo, right? So whether I get popularly published or not, I get published because of NaNoWriMo. It's a big deal. And it is not possible without having somebody in your life who kind of pushes you to do the thing properly. So build communities, and I'm not just saying it has to be us. Find someone who resonates with whatever message or whatever genre you're trying to write in, and push each other into becoming better writers. That is what it's about. Social media following and all that, it's good, but it's very temporary. It will come and it
Right.
will go. But writing is something that will stick with you forever. So if your focus is to be a writer for a long period of time, just find a good writing community and get to writing. And challenges like this, NaNoWriMo or whatever Fixtember is,
Uh,
all these things, it
NaNoWriMo
is.
does lots of variations actually. In July they do camp. Again in
I
camp they
know.
write. They
Yes.
write, they edit, they write whatever comes to their mind, they revise their plots, they edit. So Camp July is for that purpose. I did Camp July for writing 2 to 3 short stories and editing a few. So within July, I wrote 2 short stories and I edited one, which is like a big thing because I managed to write only one short story a month. And that was only because I did it in community. I used to get up, I used to run, I used to run a sprint between 6 and 7:30 in the morning.
Tell
So,
them what
uh,
sprint is, by the way. I think not many know what
so
sprint is.
yeah, so sprint is like we usually drop a message in the group. The groups are mostly on Facebook. I know many people hate Facebook, but it's very good for fiction. If you want to write fiction, you have to be on Facebook. You cannot avoid it because fiction, like for news, for gossips, it is Twitter. For jobs, it is or leads, it is LinkedIn. So for fiction, it is Facebook. Okay, so Facebook has a Raimo India बोल के there is a group. I used to run morning 1 to 1.5 hour sprints that is called cycle. I mean cycle called sprints. So we used to drop a message that I'm starting now at 6 o'clock. I'll stop at 7:30. Do drop your comment after half an hour or 15 minutes. How many words you have written or edited. So it's whole lot of fun. Okay. And again, one more thing is NaNoWriMo is not only for novels. You can do fiction. You can do non-fiction also. People do a lot of non-fiction. Even if you're a blogger, imagine you write one blog a day. You'll have 30 blogs by the end of the month. Okay. And
It's a
if
lot.
it is weekend, you are not working, you can even make more than 30 blogs. So imagine your blog will grow by leaps and bounds. Or there is one very amazing idea that I am playing around with for past 1 year to come up with 30 stories in 30 days. So if you have the idea in your mind about 30 stories, you can simply write 2000 words in 1 day. Okay. And then you have 30 stories by the end of November, and you can definitely expand them later on, refine them, edit them, whatever you want. And if you divide them in 15, 15, you have two anthologies in place. So we'll talk more about NaNoWriMo. Probably this is very confusing for everybody, or maybe it
Yeah.
is too much of information overload.
Yeah.
So
NaNoWriMo talks will happen in October. Yeah. So I
Definitely.
think this is finally the last time I'm ending this. This is what happens every time we talk to each other. अभी फोन रखते हैं फिर.
अभी रखते हैं. Like yesterday it happened. Yesterday,
I
I'll
know,
call
I
you
know.
back in 5 minutes.
And then
चलो
one more
then,
hour. Bye
1 more hour.
bye. Thank you so much for
Bye, bye
joining.
everyone. Thank you for
Me.
joining us.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
Binti.